Good morning, everyone. Just about ready to get started here in about a minute. Just want to make sure everybody can see and hear me. If anybody wants to chime in and let me know, that would be awesome.
I can hear you.
Great, thank you. All right, it's 10 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to your power morning right after the long weekend. So thanks for being here. I'm Heather Taylor. I'm the education coordinator here at ALCA, and we're trying to bring you some new content, and we are really happy to present Robert Klinkenbeard this morning. He will be presenting Outshine Competitors in Your Landscape Business. He's with Wilson 360. And I'm going to let Robert introduce himself and kind of take the reins here. I'm just going to be here for backup and watching the chat box. And I will interrupt him if he misses a question or anything. But other than that, he can take over and let you know how he wants to roll with this. So thanks for being here, Robert.
No problem at all. Good to see some familiar faces. I could see, who can I see? Ed. Good to see you. David. Good to see you. I'm sure there's a couple of other people I'm missing, but I'm going to just share my screen here. So give me a second. Everybody see that okay?
Looks good.
Yep.
Cool.
Looks good.
So some of you know me, some of you don't know me. So obviously originally from Scotland, you can tell by the funny accent. I got my degree in horticulture. Most of you know me from starting up integrated landscape management back in 2001, and then we sold it in 2016. We had over 20 million in revenue, 350 employees. We sold to a company called Asplund, which is now known as Aspen Grove. A couple of years after the sale, my wife and I and the kids, we actually moved across to Greenville, South Carolina. So we now reside there, been there for 6 years. And I love it across here. It's a little bit different, very green over here. But I do a bunch of traveling. So yeah, really excited to share some snippets of what I've learned with growing either ILM or just through some of the stuff we do now. This is a little bit about Wilson 360, and actually you're all, this is brand new for all of you. It was called Bruce Wilson and Company, and then we're actually launching a new website today. We're rebranding all of our social media. So really exciting times ahead of us. So this is everything that Wilson 360 does. We work with probably about 100 landscape companies throughout US and Canada. Probably about 40 or 50 of those companies are in the top 100. I have 9 people on my team that help me with, we do fractional CEO, fractional CFO work, account management training. We help with recruitment. We help with, we have somebody that comes into companies to check out their operations and comes up with ideas on how to improve operations. We deal with different software platforms. So we try and offer that full spectrum. And as you see, that's part of the reason why we did this new logo, is that the clients should be front and center of all the different services we provide. So that's a little bit about Wilson 360. And then to jump into the topics, I could easily spend a presentation on each one of these topics. So what my goal is today is to just give you a quick overview of each one of these topics. And the goal is to try and for you to have maybe 2 or 3 nuggets that you walk away with today and actually put into your business. One of the challenges I find going in to do presentations or workshops around the country is people will take, 2, 3, 4 pages of notes and just get so overwhelmed that they just don't get anything done. But if you could do maybe one or two things that come out of this, then I think should be a nice win for all of you. So your unique value proposition, UVP, it's the cornerstone of your business's identity. It sets you apart. And then some of the key elements of the UVP are it's clear, so it's easily understood in 5 seconds. So if you're explaining either to a potential prospect or client, or maybe even you're explaining to your employees, all of them should really clearly understand it. It should be concise and to the point. It describes the unique benefit you offer in your company and addresses the pain of your clients or your prospects. So again, I want to make sure that it differentiates yourself from your competitors. So how to define that? As I say, it's the cornerstone of your business's identity. And then I'd love to throw out this question to each of you. You could maybe even throw this into your chat. Do each of you know what your own company's UVP is? And that an example could be you could be an expert in plant healthcare. It could be let me think. You're an irrigation expert. You have an auditor on staff. It could be you have a number of arborists on your staff. You're able to go in and do some specialized tree work. So I'd love to just see if you know what your own UVP is. I'd love to hear that. So throw yours into the chat. And then Heather, I might get you to read them off if any come through.
Sounds good. I'm hearing some typing.
Okay. I think I see Ed either writing or typing.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing I wasn't picking my nose.
I know. Dave, you have anything for us? You know I'm going to call on the people I know to.
Yeah, and you're
you.
to them unmuting as well.
Yeah.
I just unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you want to come off mute and just shout it out.
Oh, let's see.
I have one that says relationships and results drive us. I believe that's ours. Still new.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, relationships is definitely a good one. Anybody else?
That's what I was just typing about relationships.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what we stride on.
Yeah, and to touch on that real quick, I mean, I think a lot of you know ILM were big on relationships as well. When I go in to do some sales training with different clients, I'll talk about the different levels of relationships. And the goal is, if it's just a surface relationship or just casual interaction, I usually say that's a level 1. The goal is to try and get to like a level 4, level 5. And that could be through taking them to dinner, taking them to events. You're talking about personal stuff. You really build that trust with those clients, and that's the sort of relationship you're trying to build, so that if they move to, for example, different companies, then either they're taking along with you to their new management company, or perhaps they're referring you to other potential clients, or ideally you're looking for that raving fan, somebody sitting on the sidelines and be able to say, yeah, this company is a great company because of this, this, and this. So definitely a big believer in that level 4, level 5 relationships. And actually, one thing I'm going to mention as well, not to plug it, but it's a good source of information. But I do this commercial landscaper podcast that comes out every week. And the one that's coming out this week, I think it's going to be released on Thursday, is Frank Mariani. I don't know if you know Mariani Landscapes out of Chicago. They were doing, I think, roughly 50 million a couple of years ago. And they've been going around buying a bunch of companies, design build companies around the States. So they're up now at least 200-300 million. But one of the things Frank talks about is just those relationships. That's what they built their whole company on. So I definitely believe relationships should be one of your UVPs. So how can you craft your UVP? Know your audience, understand, how often do you do surveys with your clients? Find out what their challenges are, their pains, their desires, their pain points. I speak to a lot of companies, and a lot of them do internal surveys just to find out some of the challenges going on internally within the company, but very few people actually reach out to their clients. So I think it's something you should be doing at least once a year, or even a couple of times a year, because things change. We've seen some of the tremendous changes over the last 3 years with COVID, with challenges with the economy and everything else going on. So with that, a lot of our clients' expectations change. So just doing those regular changes and finding out some of their pain points, or maybe even they're using different vendors for janitorial or pest control or something. Maybe there's something they're doing unique that they'd really like. So just talking to your clients a lot is really helpful. Identify, what you offer and how it benefits the user. One of the things I like doing is just finding out what are some of the strengths on your team. Do you have some key team members that have some particular strengths that you haven't tapped into? So it could be things like plant healthcare. You could have a really well-versed spray technician on board. You might have an amazing turf program you can offer. Maybe it's going back to the trees, some type of a specialized arborist. But what are some of the strengths you have within the company that you've perhaps not tapped into yet? Look at your competitors. You know the people that you're typically coming up against in some of those walkthroughs with clients. Just list them out on a piece of paper. I like to use things like swim lanes, where I figure out what services they're providing, my competitors, and then I'll score them and how well they're delivering them. And then I'll look for any types of gaps in the marketplace, where if I up my game in a certain service, then perhaps I could be known for being that expert in this particular area. So really look at your competitors and spend the time just analyzing what they're really good at. And yes, it might be delivered on a website, but are they actually doing a good job in delivering it to their clients?
And what was that resource, Robert? Did you say swim lanes?
I call it swim lanes, where I'm just listing all the clients, and then I'm just putting if you look up online, it's an exercise just to identify your competitors.
Oh, I see.
And then, gather all that information and then draft your own UVP. And maybe you're not quite there yet, but if you spent the next 3-6 months on working on a particular thing you want to offer to your clients, then I think it's doable. But you have to get some clarity. You have to get your team members on board, maybe your leadership team on board, so you all notice you're focused on this area. And
Well,
then, maybe,
sorry to interrupt.
go ahead.
I just didn't know if you noticed the other ones that popped up in the chat box.
No, I'm not able to see the
Okay.
chat, so go ahead and,
Okay, sure. So we have small business mentality, stress our internal client equals our workers. And that is how we service our external client. And then we have
Okay.
full service company, full service landscape company that prides itself on quality and communication. And then we put our employees first. Happy employees equals happy clients.
okay, no, I like that. I like that. I think the things, my comments back to that is test them. Like if somebody says, we take care of our employees, then how do you measure that? What's your turnover of employees? Is it 80%? Is it 90%? Most of the good companies I work with, typically have a 90 to 95% retention rate. So what's some of your measures? And then combined with that, what were some of the benefits that you give to your employees to help retain them? Do you give them health benefits, 401k, generous time off? So what are some of those indicators? And then I think that I heard the other comment is, communication. Again, what's some of the measures around that? I was working with a company last week, and they said, yeah, we're communicative, we respond really well. And I said, what do you mean by respond? They said, well, if we get a complaint, then we're usually there within 24 hours. And I said, well, you're telling me you're communicative, and you're telling me you're responsive. Why not think about, could I change that to be more proactive? Maybe take photographs on a job site, send them to the client, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just be proactive in giving them, for example, proposals, rather than waiting for those complaints coming in. So it just got them, thinking a little bit differently. Was there anything else, Heather?
No, those were all right now.
Okay. Well, and then, once you come up with what your UVP is, or maybe it's a different service you're offering, then maybe roll it out to a couple of your key clients just to test it and just to see how well it's received before actually rolling out on a grand scale. So any questions before I move on to the next topic?
I don't see any in the box, but you guys can unmute if you have a question right now.
Yeah, just unmute, put your question in the chat. So I'm going to move on to building strategic partnerships.
Robert, Ed Macias here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good question. Your UVP, is that in lieu of a mission statement, or is that in conjunction with a type of mission statement?
In conjunction, I see your mission statement. Yeah, where's the company going? It could be around a revenue number. It could be around geography. It could be around some type of a, taking care of your employees or your clients. But this is something unique, so that when you go to one of those walkthrough meetings, everybody could turn up and say, yeah, we're a great company, we offer full service, we communicate well. But if you had something a little bit different, what makes you stand out? You could have a unique irrigation program. I know some people partner up with Weathermatic on providing those smart controllers. What's something that just sets you above the crowd a little bit? So it's definitely different from your mission statement.
Okay.
So, importance of building strategic partnerships with vendors. It gives you access to new audiences, new markets, combines strengths for better products or services, or improves communication. you have shared resources for different types of events to help with those cost savings, and a little bit of risk mitigation. And innovation to pull expertise from fresh ideas and solutions. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. So the ultimate goal is to build this win-win partnership, and we had several of those at ILM, and I see this working with other companies. You got to first of all identifying your goals, and typically most of those goals are centered around trying to get new clients and working on partnering up with some clients and just leveraging those relationships. Look at who the potential partners are, and do they align with your core values, your objectives. Now, I'll give you some examples of some of the partnerships that we had. We had some great partnerships with janitorial company, security companies, restoration companies, because more often than not, we had a very similar client base. The majority of them all went after commercial buildings, Class A, Class B, either office buildings, retail centers, industrial. So everybody had their own client base, but when we had any type of joint events, then they were able to bring their clients along. We were to be able to bring our clients along. So now suddenly, instead of, if we had a sole event, maybe bring along 100 clients, if we brought on 2 partners for a specific event, now we had 300 or 400 clients there. So we're able to still do the event and share those costs, but now we had an access to a lot more potential clients that were there. We did this with, we were well known for our Halloween parties. So we would partner up with, I think, five other vendors at that party. We would have anywhere from 500 to 700 people turn up at our events. And those were janitorial, restoration, security companies, and I think there was a couple of other companies in there, but just to be able to share those resources and invite all these additional people, and they were able to just cross-reference and help each other, introduce each other to potential prospects. Again, it gets back to initiation conversations and mutual benefits. And then, just monitoring and just progress and how that's working. You have maybe some agreements. A lot of the agreements we had were just done verbally. We didn't have any type of formal agreement, but there was just that mutual respect. We were all after the same goal. We're all trying to get new clients and trying to find creative ways rather than go to the typical BOMA meetings or some of the other meetings, but this was something a little bit more creative. And this is, again, one of our UVPs where we were able to leverage those partnerships, but also take those relationships we had from a level 1 to level 3, level 4 by entertaining at some of these events. Any questions before I move on?
None in the chat box.
Okay, cool. So again, another big topic in itself, investing in continuous learning and professional development. So 2 things come along with this is, the main thing is just adapting and evolving to industry trends and technology. There's so much going on in the marketplace. A lot of people hire maybe fresh green candidates into the business, or perhaps they promote existing employees into higher positions, but don't necessarily have that time to develop them, to give them any type of training. We all know how busy we are. So training and development tends to be left to last, if at all. So I think it's just good to, again, be aware of what's going on in the marketplace, look at how do we improve competence, proficiency in the field. I know Alka does a great job through the SLM program, probably better than most other states do. But how do we allocate money? A lot of companies tend to, when the going gets bad and the market begins to go downwards, they'll cut back on training, development. But I almost see it's almost unnecessary to try and improve the level of skill within your company. So just make sure that you have some type of a plan in place. And then a lot of people talk about developing some type of a program, but they never take that next step. So use local resources, local associations, and try and figure out how can I continually invest in my employees to take them up a level or two. Again, career advancement, I think you all know the revolving door with people asking for pay raises, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. But that's part of the reason why people stay. But if people realize there's career advancement, or perhaps there's growth in the company, maybe you're expanding to a different state, or you want to grow 20-30% within your own company, what does that look like for them? People start thinking, well, if the company's going to grow 20% this year, what does that look like for me? Can I get some type of promoted position? And I think it's just good to talk to your employees about that, about some type of career development and how can I progress within the company. Excuse me. And then just boosting confidence. It's always nice to be able to go to some type of a walkthrough with a client and be able to talk confidently about some type of a topic. I just, that's why a lot of clients hire us, is because of that, that the profession we're all part of. And I know with ILM, we used to hire a lot of new people to the industry before we sold it. But we knew that within the company, we had so much knowledge there that we put them on a fairly intensive training program once they got into ILM. So how can we get them more confident going out and talking to property managers? And then future-proofing your company. Make sure that you're aware of any type of industry shifts or changes. And we're going to be talking about this in a minute, but things like robotics, things like remote learning or virtual learning, battery-powered equipment. I talk about the Amazon effect, where people's expectations are expecting that work or that to be done almost instantaneously. So always look to try and future-proof your company. And then how do you build that culture for continuous learning? Setting clear goals. Again, talk about where the company, this goes back to what you were saying, Ed, you might have something, with your mission statement, say where the company is going, but, how can you back that up with things or actions to support that? And part of that is investing back into your employees and looking at ways you can continuously train and develop them. So be really clear with the goals and have regular town hall meetings to explain where the company is going. Provide resources. We used to have a learning center, ILM, where it was either books, or we had a intranet where we had an internal portal for employees to be able to go in to tap into training guides or training manuals or other types of research. So, we put that onus on the employees to be able to come back to us and say, hey, I've got to this level. I'd like a pay raise at that point. So we put the onus on them to help develop. We used to provide that platform. So make sure all those courses and workshops and books are available to your employee, whether it be a field employee or whether it be a middle or senior manager. Encourage collaboration. Look to do any types of either work with local colleges, or maybe there might be some internal teams within your company that are looking to do small internal workshop or boot camps. So how can you internally create that culture of create that continuous learning. And then recognize and reward. That could be pay raises, it could be announcements at some of your company events, it could be, we used to give out raffle tickets to people who went above and beyond, either with learning or some type of safety protocol. But figure out some type of way in recognizing and rewarding your employees. Again, simple things like that can also help retain employees. So again, it's not necessarily all around wages. And then continuously review and update and see, make sure you're staying ahead of the game. And then jumping on to, I touched on this a minute ago, but with some of the new developments going on in the marketplace, I'm not sure if any of you have been to the outdoor power equipment show in Louisville, but they've got an amazing amount of equipment. I know that Lawn and Landscape did the recent technology show. We've been involved in that the last few years, but there's just so much innovation technology out there. There's these robotic mowers. This is one of the companies that we work with, Scythe. They're based out of Colorado. So they've already gone ahead and released some of these mowers this year, and I think they're going to be doubling production next year. So just, again, they're using updates, they're using technology. I think there's a tendency, I feel, just, again, working through the companies I work with now, a lot of people will wait just until that technology is almost proven and tested. But there's a lot of companies out there now, big companies, who are investing with these types of mowers to stay ahead of the game. And they're using that technology again as their UVP for clients. So again, it shows the client that they're just being innovative and they're not scared about making investments in this new technology. So you have robotic mowers, you have battery-powered equipment that's getting more robust these days. You have herbicides. I know that Rainbow are now coming out with different types of chemicals to compete with products like Roundup. So just looking at new types of products coming in the pipeline. There's ERP systems out there that, like Aspire, like Single Ops, like Boss LM. Again, if you're looking for improve your efficiency within your company, potentially some type of eventual exit. I think there's 30 to 40 buyers in the marketplace right now. They're looking for technology. They're looking for, is this company done what it can to really be efficient? So a lot of them are moving towards Aspire and Boss. So just look to see what technology and changes are going out there. And as I mentioned, the Amazon effect, you probably all noticed that, but when people place their order on Amazon, a lot of them are expecting either same day or next day. So that translates into other services like landscaping, like pest control, other types of services. So again, are we geared up to meet our clients' expectations? And then the other one here is electric vehicles. So I was actually, Lawn and Landscape approached me, I think last week, and asked me if I knew of any clients that were working with or using electric vehicles. And there was very few people out there. I know we used to back in the day with, we used Priuses a lot for account managers. And there's some companies, I know a company out in Santa Barbara that have gone 100% solar and battery powered. They're attracting a lot of clients because of that. Again, that innovation and how it's they're counteracting that whole sustainability concept. I'm going to pause here for a minute, Heather. Anything else that's come up?
Not in the chat box.
Anybody got any questions, comments?
It's funny, Robert, you brought up California and electrical battery operated equipment, but I believe they have a mandate where all their new power equipment can't have gas powered engines anymore. So they're sort of being driven by their new laws. We recently did a presentation with battery operated equipment. Well done. Horizon assisted us. The product, the Greenworks was great. But again, the customer sort of hedged at the price. And, at some point, if Arizona starts mandating that kind of stuff, I'll see. I mean, I'm not even sure how many people have ventured into the battery operated stuff. And we've, tried to roll it out, but we've got some, just again, there's been a little bit of roadblocks with it. But I know in California, they're not going to have much of a choice in a couple of years.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think, as you probably know, you tend to get that wave that starts from California
Correct.
and head your direction. So, do you wait until that mandate comes down, or do you try and stay ahead of it? So that's just a business decision. I know this company I mentioned out of Santa Barbara, they've been doing this now for probably 4 to 5 years. And it's taken a lot of, trials, tribulations. And so just something to think about as you progress your business. But good point, Ed. I'm going to jump into showcase your expertise and portfolio. We used to utilize our ALCA awards to showcase our clients. And then we would actually bring our clients along to those ceremonies. So, how can you help to, again, showcase your expertise, your portfolio? The national organization, NALP, again, we would enter into those awards programs. We would invite our clients. I think one thing I find a lot of people struggle at is, keeping their website updated. So again, are you updating your website with new portfolio, new photographs, refreshing things? Again, a prime example of that is, I work with a lot of clients who talk about they want to try and get more females into the workforce. And we experienced that ILM. There were just such great workers out there. But I then asked the follow-up question, do you have anything to attract females on your website? And typically the answer is no. So just look at making sure your website matches some of your current thinking and keep it constantly refreshed. And even things like social media posts, are you doing that internally? Do you have a company helping you? Again, is that reflecting on your current, the trends out there, what you have in your portfolio, what are some of your offerings? I think it is important to have a strong brand identity. I think you can all just tell by even the ones that don't have any names against it, who are the different brand names here. So, what should your brand be known for? Is it quality? Is this where your UVP comes into? What do you reach out to your clients and ask them, hey, what do you like about the company, our company? Is it the responsiveness? Is it the quality? What makes us a little bit unique? So really look internally, but also ask externally, ask your clients. And I usually like to have some type of once you've developed what your brand looks like, your brand statement, then how do you measure that? Is it through client retention? Is it through some type of a survey like Net Promoter Score, NPS? So what are some of the measures to make sure that you're maintaining or enhancing that brand? And this is where a lot of people tend to fall down. I think a lot of the time they're scared to go out and ask their clients. But I think it's just a bold move to get out there. And yes, the initial survey might be not so great, but I think the clients are telling you that because they typically want to see you improve. And then what are some of the things you can improve on? It's not going to be fixed overnight, but maybe over the next 30, 60, 90 days, you could make some significant improvements. And then, as a couple of you mentioned earlier, the UEP, what is your customer service like? Is it exceptional? Anybody tell me what the Ritz-Carlton does for their employees, or what do they empower their employees to do? Come off your mute if you know. Nobody? Okay, so they actually authorize their employees to spend up to $2,000 to keep their clients happy. So they will not be questioned at all if they spend that $2,000. If a client's unhappy or they're in a bind, I've heard some crazy examples where, you know, a special client left behind their laptop, and the employee flew across the country to hand that laptop back. But we one of the things that we did when I was part of a peer group was we actually brought the Ritz-Carlton in to do some training with us on what does that exceptional customer service look like. And you know, part of that starts from when you bring a new employee within the company. We did a pretty bad job for a while, and how do we onboard employees, even down to the field laborers. But I think if we just spent a little bit more time on onboarding them and teaching them about exceptional customer services and what that looks like, you know, from the field level all the way up to a manager level. So just have a think about that. Look at the Ritz training program, or if that's something you know you don't want to get involved in, then try and figure out how can we, what's the expectations internally within the company. Things like how quickly we respond back to emails, how quickly we get proposals back to our clients. What are some of the things we do over and above? Do we take photographs of our job sites? Do we have weekly communication with them? So just look a little bit more internally to see if there's anything you can up your game on. I'm going to pause there for a minute. Any questions?
None in the chat box.
Okay. So here's some examples of the stuff that we did for our clients. I could have showed you 20, 30 different PowerPoint slides here, but you know, we had our party trailer that we used to take to events. We used to take them to some of our office buildings. We used to cook for our clients. We went to lunch and learns. We had this trailer, was a nice setup. It had TVs, it had barbecues, it had a bar, it had cornhole. And clients used to love this when we take this along to their office buildings, or maybe the lunch and learns, or we actually went along to some golf tournaments as well. We used to take our clients to spring training. We would sometimes rent a suite there, sometimes actually with other vendor partners. And we'd bring along 40, 50 clients to a spring training game once or twice a year.
So Robert, true story here. I had been at SDL short time, and I got a customer, client, property manager call me up and wanted to know if we could bring our hospitality trailer out to a community event. And I was like, we don't have one. And the response was, well, ILM has one, Ed. And it's like, if you want to do business with this, you need to go get a hospitality trailer. Property manager was just being funny. but within 6 months, I'd flown out to Peachtree, Georgia. Looked at one of the two places that put hospitality trailers, and it's out on community projects probably anywhere from 6 to a half a dozen times a year. So I want to thank you for making me spend a lot of money on a hospitality trailer.
You're welcome. But you'll thank me even more once you start getting retaining more clients and get new business.
Well, it created a sense of getting to know our HOA homeowners, not so much the client. They got to see that we were real, and they got to meet our team, whether it be a foreman or laborers that were helping cook burgers and dogs, and took a different viewpoint of us whenever there was an issue, because we had developed more than just a business relation.
No, yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, because we used to take them to HOAs. We had our own ILM soccer team, or we sponsored some of the soccer leagues. So we'd bring a trailer along to that. Again, feed our employees at those events, or even prospective employees. So it was definitely well utilized. You can see here, we used to sponsor a bunch of the tournaments, whether it be BOMA or IFMA. And again, many times a lot of these golf tournaments would end up spending way too long at our party trailer, because they were having fun. So we weren't complaining. The organizers complained a lot, but but no, it was just we wanted to take care of our employees. We want to take care of our clients, and this was again example of our one of our UVPs, which was really homing in on our client relationships. And this ties into the next slide here. We would have a box, the 16th hole, the Open, and we had that probably for, I would say, 8 to 10 years. And yeah, costly, but we used to split those costs with our partners and vendor partners. So maybe we'd get 10 or so clients each per day. But again, those were all carefully handpicked to make sure they got on well with each other. There was some prospects there for us. So those events usually paid for themselves within 3 to 6 months. And being part of that whole Real Estate Central on Friday, where most real estate companies go out there, and being basically seeing 50 to 100 of our clients in one place was priceless. Going back to recognizing your properties, taking care of your clients, these were some of the words. You obviously recognize some of these. But again, clients used to love being invited and just felt a sense of pride being part of it. Here's some of our clients' events. The top left is, I think, up on 24th and Camelback. So we bring the trailer along to the courtyard and cook for all the tenants there. Top right was our facility up in Vegas. We'd rent out some, the Top Golf there. Different internal or client bowling events. So again, we were always trying to plan ahead 3-6 months. What are some of the events we could really take care of our clients and obviously our employees as well. So I am going to pause for questions. I threw a ton at you today, but I say I could present on each one of those 5 or 6 different topics by itself, but it was really just to get your mind thinking a little bit. Again, hopefully you 2 or 3 nuggets from this that you could go away and are actionable on your side. But let's open it up for questions, comments.
Will the recording of this webinar be available for our keeping? So we will send you the link to the recording, but we typically just have the links available for a week, just so that they stay relevant and they're not out there forever. So you can watch it over for a week or so. And then Robert, you were mentioning you might have some takeaways for them or something.
Yeah, I'm happy to send some worksheets if anybody wants to start on the process. You know, you can go off and do it on your own, obviously. So I'm happy to share that with anybody.
If you would like that, please make sure and put your email in the chat box, and that way that shows me that you're giving your consent to me sharing your email with Robert and his company. And then you can, if you don't want it out there for everybody, you can certainly just direct message or direct chat it to me, and Robert, I'll make sure you get all of them.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to put some people on the spot here. Since I don't believe there's no questions. What's your biggest takeaway from today? Ed, start with you.
You know, the biggest thing for me is the relationships that you've had, you continue to have, you know, establishing those strong relationships. Same thing with your workforce. You know, I always think we're doing a lot for them, but there's always more that can be done. You know, I've been fortunate. I've been able to have consistency with foremen and account managers for many years. So it tends to give us the same continuity with our maintenance. We don't do a lot of business development. We haven't done any business development in the last, well, I take that back. We don't have individuals that we have on the payroll for business development, but we continue to grow just based on the relationships we've developed. I think it's been part of our success because we have developed good relationships, good quality practices. So when there tends to be a hiccup, that customer has faith enough to know that if we've done something wrong, we'll get back on track. You know, at some point we'll start looking at that, but yeah, so it's just quality of the people that you bring in, quality of the people that are managing them, and then also developing, you know, quality clients. I think that's a big thing too. We've learned to say no through the years. You know, I guess we could take that UVP and kind of translate it to our customer and see if they promote some of the same qualities that we want to see. And if I see that same thing from a management company, then I know I want to work with them as well. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is that it's always going to be taking care of your people and, you know, delivering more than you think you can. And then education, and that's always key, making the employees feel comfortable, making them grow. We've done a good job of that, but we've had so much growth over the last couple of years that some of this stuff, we sort of flew by it. So now we're playing catch up and starting to enroll some of this stuff. So, but yeah, good employees, good management and trust of the employees. You know, I've always managed from the bottom up. So I'm at the bottom and then everybody else is up on top. So I'm supporting their success.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, Ed. Yeah, just one interesting exercise I go through is I try to identify who your core clients are. So, you know, who are the people out there that you enjoy doing work with you? They never complain about price. They're the ones referring you to other people. And once you establish that core group of clients, then how does that help me? What their characteristic or the attributes towards trying to find new ideal clients? So it's just an interesting exercise to go through. So, Alex, what's your biggest takeaway from today?
Pretty much my biggest takeaway is, you know, outside of doing weekly ops meetings, talking about customers, you know, checking on customers, is really customer oriented activities, right? So you brought up the waste management, you brought up the spring training games. It's really kind of that, the forward thinking is kind of where I take from that. You know, as Ed alluded to, we haven't really done any marketing outside of that last couple of years. We've been extremely successful with our growth. But what else are we doing to keep pushing that growth, to, you know, building that, you know, those core partnerships that we're seeking, and, you know, customer base that we're chasing after.
Cool, awesome, I love it.
So Robert, just a
go ahead.
clarification, Robert, when I say we don't have business development from a employee standpoint, I think one of the things that we've cultivated is business development from all levels of our management and account managers, and you know, developing those relationships. So even though we don't have a person that services client relationships, I think most of the people that are in our management level, we're always promoting that business aspect of it. And Alex heads up, you know, the account managers as far as, hey, communicate to them whether we've done, you know, I think you pointed it out. Hey, if we've thrown up over ourselves, you know what, clean it up, let the customer know about it, give them time frames, and, you know, get back on track. But yeah, I wanted to clarify that we do business development, but it's more based on a internal type of thing and not so much external.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Who else could I pick on? Scott, you have any takeaways from today? Or anybody else? There, Scott.
I'm on here. I am driving, so I'm not going to unmute my camera and watch. You guys can watch the road drive by, but a few things. Gold medal. We do a lot of these things. Some of these we can improve on. Probably a big takeaway for me is measuring things a little bit better, figuring out how to measure things a little bit better. We do a lot of these things and we take pride in a lot of them, but we don't necessarily have a metric that we look at regularly to see how we're doing, or to know if our clients think we're doing as good as we think we're doing, that sort of thing. But that's probably my big takeaway from today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's actually a good book out there called Measure What Matters. And just by introducing, you know, 3, 4, 5 things, maybe at different levels or different positions, just you could see the progress. So thank you, Scott.
Yep.
Either Oscar or we have somebody from Goodman's. You have any takeaways from today?
I'll go ahead. So
Okay.
I was very interested and engaged in the part in the presentation about how to foster a culture of continuous learning. This is an aspect that we at my company have been active in, trying to create ways for our employees to have a desire to learn and to continue developing in their skills. And so I found that portion of the presentation to be very profitable.
Cool. Yeah, and I think my biggest share with you is, I would say 95% of the companies I work with, they talk about training and some type of development, but they struggle to take the first few steps because it's such a big topic. So I encourage people to say, hey, just pick maybe on one position. Maybe focus on the foreman. You come up with some type of a foreman training or development program, and you roll it out over the next 6 months. And once you get that behind you and you try and test it, then maybe work on a different position. But try and work on bite-sized chunks and rolling out some type of a employee development.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Cool. Anyone from Goodman want to chime in? I know we're running out of time here, but no. Okay. Cool. Heather, anything else on your end? Any other questions I've missed?
No, I just see that Oscar had offered to possibly do a private Zoom to build some relationships. So just if anybody wants to direct chat with him before we close this out, or Oscar, if you want to put your email in the box so somebody can jot it down, that would be great. Sounds like you just want to do some networking, maybe some
Yep.
more of this kind of speak.
Yeah, no, yeah, my email is in the chat
Okay.
box. So
And
if
it's-
anyone is interested in maybe doing some networking, I'd be glad to. My crew and I, my foremans and I are planning to be in Phoenix next Thursday for some irrigation training. So plan on doing some more networking there, but my email address is in the chat box.
Are you in Tucson or?
We are based out of Yuma, so in the
Yuma.
desert Southwest, so the utmost southwest portion of Arizona.
Okay. Oh, I
We'll
see.
be driving up,
It says in
yeah.
your name. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have a member mixer in Tucson in October, I believe. So keep a lookout for that.
No, yeah, that's actually on my calendar, so
Cool.
I got my eyes peeled for that one.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for being here, and Robert for your time this morning. And I'll make sure you get all the information from the chat so people know what they asked
Awesome.
for.
Cool. Well, thanks for attending, everybody. Good to see everyone.
See you, Robert.
Okay,
All right.
cheers.
Perfect. Thank you.
Success.
Okay, bye.